Hi guys, Dwight here, and today we're going to do an introduction to Duelyst. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with the game, Duelyst is a cross between a board game or something like chess or Risk and a collectible card game, so something like Magic the Gathering or Hearthstone. Now, I was previously a Hearthstone player myself, so I may occasionally slip in the odd reference to the game to make it easier for players coming over from Hearthstone, and because it's probably the best way for me to explain it, but I will try and stay away from that and just explain the game's concepts on their own. Now, the first thing I'm going to go over is currency and gold generation in Duelyst. It's quite generous, and every day you'll get 2 daily quests which you can complete that generally revolve around playing a certain amount of a faction. Now, you use the gold then to purchase spirit orbs, which are card packs in this game, and each spirit orb will give you 5 cards. Now, if we go into the collection, we can see, obviously this is where you can see all of the cards that you currently own. You have basic cards, which have no depiction in the middle at all. These are given to every player. And then from then on, we have common cards, which have a white triangle, rare cards, which have a blue triangle, epic cards which have a purple triangle, and legendary cards which have an orange triangle. Now, if you don't have the cards that you want, there is a crafting system so that you can go through, see all the cards available, and craft them for a currency called Spirit. It does cost a lot more to craft a card than it does when you disenchant a card to get that back, so you will need to disenchant a lot more cards to craft one that you want, so you do need to bear that in mind when you go ahead and disenchant things. As you can see at the top, there are 6 factions currently. They are Lionar, Songhai, Vitruvian, Abyssian, Magmar and Banar. Now, they all play out slightly differently, and they have their own characteristics and minion keywords which are integral to the way they play, but we won't be going too much into the intricacies of those factions in this video. We'll be doing them at a later date. Now, deck building in Duelyst is done with 40 cards. One of those cards will be the faction general, which is effectively a 2 attack 25 health minion that you control for the entirety of the game. If that general dies, then that is how you lose the game. The other 39 cards in your deck are built up from the other cards you own. You can include 3 copies of any one card in your deck, and that includes legendaries as well. So in terms of play modes in Duelyst, we have the Gauntlet, which is like Hearthstone's Arena, where we create a deck of 30 cards and we have multiple choice every draft. So once we've built that deck of 30 cards, we then play against other players to see how well we do with it. Currently it's up to 12 wins or 3 losses, whichever comes first, and then based on your record with that deck, you're given rewards at the end of the Gauntlet. So these rewards can be spirit for crafting cards, gold, spirit orbs or card packs, and extra tickets to play the Gauntlet more after that. We have the Seasoned Rank Ladder, which is where you build a deck from your collection and then play against other players to climb the ranks and see how well you can do. And finally we have Training Grounds, which is where the tutorial is, and also we have a series of puzzles which help you learn the game and how different spells and minions interact, and also give you a lot of gold for completing them as well, so they're well worth looking at. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to head into a sandbox mode, which means I do play both sides of the board. This could be slightly confusing, but obviously bear in mind that because I am having to do the mulligan and everything else for both sides, that it's not a reflection of how it would look if you were playing the game on your own. So with my Fenar deck, I will be starting on the left, which means I am player 1 and I will go first. The first player will always start with 2 mana and will always obviously go first on the board. Now this is my mulligan, and as I'm only starting with 2 mana, ideally I'm looking for a 2 mana creature to play out here. And then this is my mulligan for player 2, who will start with 3 mana. So I'm going to keep the 2-drop just because I have something to play there, and then we'll see how this works. So as you can see, I start with 2 mana here. I have my general on the board, who is effectively a 2 attack 25 health minion for the duration of the game, and when my general dies the game is over. So we can see here that I can move either 2 spaces vertically, 2 spaces horizontally, or 1 space diagonally in front of me. The other thing to note is that you can also replace one card from your hand every turn. So if you weren't too happy with what you have, or you're looking for a specific answer or threat, then you can send one of them back to your deck and draw another card every turn, which really increases the consistency of finding things in your deck that you're looking for. So as it stands, I'm just going to go ahead and replace this minion here. We'll move 2 spaces forward, and then we're going to play a Healing Mystic, which is a minion with an opening gambit, which means that that minion will use this effect as soon as it's played onto the board. In this case, the 2 health to my general, or whichever minion I cast it on, isn't too useful, but we're going to go ahead and play it out anyway. So now playing from the other side, again I have the same range of movement, 2 squares in either direction, or 1 square diagonally. Now these 3 tiles across the middle of the board are called mana springs, and by having a minion standing on these you get 1 extra mana for the duration of that turn. So obviously starting with 3 mana, if I were able to get one of these and use another 1 cost card as well, then that's an extra 1/3 of my resources for the turn. So a lot of the early game posturing does happen around these mana springs, because the boosts they can give you can really give you an advantage in terms of board presence and tempo, which gets progressively less valuable as the game goes on. So again, we can just replace 1 card per turn. Go ahead and move our character, and then we can play a minion in any of the 8 squares around our general. If I was to go ahead and play that on this mana spring, you can see that I have 4 mana for this turn, and can then go ahead and cast my spell as well. Now spells can be cast anywhere on the board, unless they state otherwise. They may say only on nearby minions, so we're going to go ahead and cast this just to show that. So we have in our hand here a Planar Scout, which is an airdrop minion. I can go ahead and play that anywhere on the board that I like, unless the square is already occupied. So I can go ahead and put that on a mana spring and gain another mana for this turn. I'm going to go ahead and play this Veil Hunter as well, which is a ranged minion, just to show how ranged minions work in Duelyst. Now as we can see, my Healing Mystic has 2 attack and 1 health remaining, and his Arclight Sentinel has 2 attack and 4 health. If I were to move up here, even though I'm only moving 1 square, that exhausts my character's movement for the remainder of that turn, and then we can attack into this minion here. So you can see that by attacking a minion you provoke a counter attack as well, and that is how trading in Duelyst works. You're constantly judging your attack against the minion's attack, and you'll receive that damage back in return when you initiate the attack. We can also attack with our general by moving up here, attack here, and then we receive a counter attack just like any other minion. So we'll go ahead and replace another card here. It's just another card with an opening gambit, which we can go ahead and play out, and then attack in, so generals can fight just like any other minions. Now ranged minions in Duelyst are quite understated for their cost, but this is because they can attack from anywhere on the battlefield, and they don't receive counter-attack damage from whatever it is they're attacking unless that minion is also ranged or right next to them. So we can attack here into the general for 1 damage, and as you can see my ranged minion doesn't take the 2 damage back in return. Now in terms of movement, as you can see, I can't move onto a square that's occupied by an enemy minion or by one of my own minions, but I can move in next to them. So I'm going to go ahead and play my Fenrir Warmaster here, which is a card with a Dying Wish, which means that when that minion dies it will do what the effect is. So in this case, when my Fenrir Warmaster dies, it will summon a 3/3 Ghost Wolf in its place. So we're going to go ahead and attack that with the Emerald Rejuvenator. As we can see, it's died and spawned a 3/3 Ghost Wolf, as it says. Now an Ironcliff Guardian is a airdrop minion, so again it can be played anywhere on the board, but also it is a provoke minion, which means that any minion or enemy minion in the 8 squares around it is then forced to attack it before it can move or before it can attack anything else in the vicinity. So we'll see how that works on the following turn. So as we can see, my general is provoked by this Ironcliff Guardian. They're completely unable to move, completely unable to attack anything else as well. So what we're going to do here is we're going to just play out our artifact. Now, an artifact is a buff for your general, so in this case it's going to give my general an extra 5 attack for the duration of this artifact. As you can see up here, artifacts have 3 durability, and a durability is taken away every time that general takes damage from any source. So it's not just through counter-attacking minions or attacking minions, it's from anything. So any spell, any AoE damage, anything like that will take 1 durability away from your artifact. So you really want to try and get as much value out of them on your own turns as you possibly can. So we're going to go ahead and attack this because we can't do anything else at the moment. And we'll go ahead and play out this minion just to show how Frenzy works as well. So again, we have spells that can be cast on anything on the board. And again, another provoke minion, which I won't drop because obviously it's just to show. Oh, I will drop it actually, yeah, just to show how positioning works and movement works throughout the game. So as we can see, my general here is in a bit of a rough spot. She's surrounded in 3 spaces, which means because of these provokes she's unable to move anyway, but she would also be unable to move to any of these spots past these minions, or diagonally through enemy minions as well. So positioning and sequencing and making sure you don't get backed into a corner is a very, very big deal in Duelyst. As you can see as well, my hand is starting to fill up because I'm not using as many cards per turn as I perhaps should be. At the end of every turn in Duelyst you do draw 2 cards and you have a maximum hand size of 6. So ideally from turn 4 or 5 onwards you want to be trying to play 2 cards every turn just to make sure you keep consistently cycling through your deck. If it was that your hand was full and a minion gets returned to your hand for any reason, then that minion dies. And if you do have a full hand, you can't overdraw, so you can't burn any of your cards or anything like that, but you do limit further drawing options as the turns go on. So now here we have a Frenzy minion, and Frenzy means it will attack everything around it. As we can see here, normally by attacking into a 3-2, then the 3 attack of this minion would mean that my minion would die, but by attacking into the 1-5, our minion will only take 1 damage in return, but it's done 2 damage to everything around it. So Frenzy minions, if given the initiative to attack on their turn, can really do a lot of damage in a very short amount of time. So Saberspine Tiger is a rush minion, and this minion means it can move and attack on the very first turn it's played, whereas as you've seen, normally minions need a turn to get ready. So I'm going to go ahead and kill this off and just start showing how the game progresses. And if I were to continue to not move my general and I was to start to get swarmed by minions, it really does limit my movement options. So as we can see here, my general is now completely surrounded. I'm unable to move in any direction, and I'm also unable to play any minions except for next to my other minion. If this minion were to not be here and it was an enemy minion instead, I would be completely unable to play any minion at all unless it were an airdrop minion. So as you can see, it's very important to keep proper distance with your hero to make sure you're not trapped into a corner like this and surrounded, because once you start getting your movement options limited, you can get forced into all kinds of unfavourable trades and take a lot more damage and be unable to play out your answers as well. So that is why positioning and sequencing and things of that nature are really, really key in Duelyst. So there I am, lost and alone in my corner of the map, and my opponent is now able to finish me off just through a combination of attacks with all of their minions and spells as well. So as I say, once you get backed into a corner, you're in a lot of trouble very quickly. So there are two types of minions that I didn't show off during this video. Obviously I didn't show anything specific to the factions, as I said, but also there are minions that have a keyword called celerity, which allows them to have 2 actions per turn. So whereas with a normal minion you can either attack or move then attack, a minion with celerity can move, attack, and then move and attack again. Finally, there are minions with flying, who once played and once they're ready to move, can move anywhere on the map at all. So I hope this has been an interesting and informative experience, if nothing else. It does take a bit of time to get used to Duelyst's mechanics and the unique way that it plays out in game, and it's very difficult to kind of show all of the intricacies of how games play out, but obviously with experience you pick that up. If you have any questions, or if there is anything you'd like to say about the video, just leave a comment, that will be absolutely fine. And as I say, I will be making further videos on factions in depth as the days go on. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys soon.